That VA check landing in your account every month may not be the only check you qualify for. Some veterans are already sitting at 100% and are still missing a separate recurring payment that stacks directly on top of what they already receive. Let that go unclaimed for years, and several thousand can turn into tens of thousands that never reaches your account. This is not a raise. It is not a one-time payout, and you do not need a higher rating to qualify. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what this second payment is called, the 5 situations that can trigger it, the forms that matter, and the evidence that can make or break the claim. Pay special attention to number 4. That is the category that can push a veteran already rated at 100% to a combined monthly total well above $5,000. And stay with me after that, because one paperwork mistake causes veterans who may actually qualify to get denied anyway. I'm Lana Maines. On this channel, I break down the financial and legal benefits most people never hear about until it is too late. If you want that kind of information in your corner, subscribe now, because understanding this one benefit could change your monthly check for the rest of your life. The payment is called Special Monthly Compensation, or SMC. And before we go any further, understand what SMC will not do. It will not change your percentage from 90 to 100. It is not another disability rating. It sits above your regular disability compensation as an entirely separate category of payment for specific situations. Congress decided deserved extra support. You can already be rated at the maximum 100% and still qualify for SMC on top of it. That misunderstanding costs people money. And if you are wondering why the VA does not simply call veterans who qualify, the answer is not some dramatic conspiracy. The problem is how the system works. The VA is claims-driven, not entitlement-driven. An entitlement-driven system would monitor your circumstances and adjust your payment when you qualified for more. A claims-driven system waits. It processes what you file. There is no employee whose job is to comb through your file and call you saying, based on your condition, you might qualify for another payment. Have you thought about applying? That job does not exist inside the VA. Under Title 38 of the United States Code, Sections 1114 and 1115, Congress created this program because a percentage rating cannot capture everything a service-connected condition costs a veteran. A rating measures severity. SMC measures something different. It looks at what those conditions force you to live with day to day and what additional help they require. The VA's duty to assist under Title 38, Section 5103A only activates once a claim has been filed. It does not require the VA to tell you which claims you should file in the first place. When the original disability claim closes, that duty closes with it. If a separate benefit applies, a separate claim is required. If nobody tells you that second layer exists, that second claim may never happen. So, here are the 5 situations you need to recognize. Number 1, loss or loss of use. This category includes the loss of a hand or foot, blindness, deafness in both ears, and similar serious losses. But here is what most veterans get wrong. They hear the word loss and assume something must physically be gone. That is not what loss of use means. If a service-connected condition leaves a hand or foot so damaged that it no longer functions in any meaningful way, that can count under the law even when the limb is still attached. Picture the test in everyday life. The hand is still there. But between nerve damage and lost grip strength, you cannot button a shirt. You cannot hold a coffee cup. That is the difference. The wrong move is waiting for the condition to match some dramatic picture of complete physical loss. The right question is whether meaningful function remains. The same logic applies to feet, eyes, and ears. Look at what the body part actually lets you do. Do not judge it only by whether it is physically present. Function, not appearance. That is the test that matters. Number 2 is part of that same loss of use family, but it gets skipped more than almost anything else. Loss of use of a reproductive organ. In plain terms, this very often means erectile dysfunction. I am going to say this plainly because embarrassment keeps a lot of men silent about it. A significant number of veterans develop this condition as a side effect of medications prescribed for other service-connected issues, including pain management, blood pressure treatment, or mental health conditions. If the service-connected condition or the treatment for it caused this, it can qualify a veteran for an additional monthly payment. The wrong move is leaving it off the paperwork because it feels too personal to discuss. That silence can cost money month after month. This is a recognized compensable condition under federal law. There is no shame required to claim a benefit you earned. If treatment for a service-connected condition changed this part of your life, document what actually happened. Embarrassment does not protect your benefits. Documentation does. Number 3, housebound status. This is where the 100% myth starts costing veterans again. If you carry a single disability rated at 100%, plus an additional separately rated disability that adds up to a certain threshold on top of that. Or if your service-connected conditions effectively confine you to your home, you may qualify for an additional housebound payment. The wrong assumption is simple: I'm already at 100%. There is nowhere higher to go. But your rating and your ability to leave your home are two different questions. This tends to creep up on older veterans. There is rarely one dramatic morning where somebody suddenly says, "Now I am housebound." The world just gets smaller. First, certain errands disappear, then driving becomes harder, then leaving the house becomes rare. Room by room, year by year, life moves inside four walls. That change matters. Do not ask only what percentage appears on your award. Ask what your service-connected conditions have done to the physical size of your life. Rating and housebound status are separate questions. Treat them that way. Number 4, aid and attendance. This is the category I told you to stay for. Once service-connected conditions progress to the point where you regularly need another person's help with basic activities of daily life, that need itself is compensable. And it is compensable at a significantly higher rate than the categories above it. Those activities include bathing, dressing, eating, and getting around safely. Here is what most families get wrong. They think the veteran must be completely helpless. Under 38 CFR 3.352, you do not need help with every single activity to qualify. Needing regular assistance with even one or two can be enough to meet the standard. A veteran can still cook. A veteran can still drive. But if that same veteran cannot safely bathe or dress without help, that can meet the bar. A veteran may even live alone. But if moving through the home creates a real risk of falling, that can matter too. The wrong approach is describing only the diagnosis. The right approach is describing function. Can the person get into the shower safely? Can they dress without another set of hands? Can they move around the home without a real risk of falling? Those details are what turn a medical condition into an understandable daily limitation. And if you are the spouse, adult child, or caregiver watching this, you may notice those limitations before the veteran ever admits them. Maybe you help your father get dressed every morning. Maybe you make sure your husband does not fall in the shower. Maybe you keep his medications straight because he cannot manage them anymore. That daily help has a name inside this system. Naming it correctly can mean a meaningfully larger monthly check. Bringing it up is not complaining. It is making sure the person you care for receives what he earned. Daily function is the evidence. Do not hide it behind pride. Number 5, dependence. This one rarely gets grouped with the others, but in practice, it creates the same problem. Under Section 1115, a veteran rated at 30% or higher receives an additional monthly amount for each eligible dependent. That can include a spouse, a child, or in some cases, a dependent parent. And again, it does not necessarily activate on its own. If you married after your rating was established, had a child, or took on the care of a parent, the wrong move is assuming the VA already knows. If you never went back and reported that change, you are very likely receiving less every month than the law says you are owed right now, 30% or higher. Eligible dependent. Report the change. Simple facts, real monthly consequences. Now, before we get into the filing mistakes, see whether you recognize yourself in these conditions. Diabetic peripheral neuropathy is one of the most common paths into the loss of use category. When it progresses to the point where a veteran cannot feel or safely use their feet, many veterans think of neuropathy as just numbness. The important question is what the numbness has done to function. Traumatic brain injury frequently qualifies veterans for aid and attendance when cognitive or balance problems make independent daily functioning unsafe, even when the veteran can still hold a conversation perfectly well. Severe PTSD can also support an aid and attendance claim when it reaches the point where a veteran cannot safely manage their own medication schedule or cannot be left alone for extended periods without risk. That category is frequently underdocumented because the symptoms are behavioral rather than physical. Spinal cord injuries, severe COPD requiring supplemental oxygen, and advanced Parkinson's disease connected to Agent Orange exposure also repeatedly show up in approved SMC claims. If one of those sounds like your situation or like somebody you served with, do not stop at the name of the diagnosis. Look at function. What can the person safely do today that they could once do alone? That recognition is often the missing piece. Now, we need to kill one myth completely. A combined rating of 100% does not mean the math is finished. Combined ratings and special monthly compensation run on entirely separate tracks. Your combined rating comes from the VA's formula for stacking multiple service-connected conditions against each other. That calculation caps at 100%. SMC does not run through that formula. It is a flat, statutorily defined addition layered on top of whatever your combined rating already produced. That is exactly why somebody can be sitting at the maximum rating and still see monthly compensation increase substantially once SMC is added correctly. And there is another detail veterans rarely hear. These payments can stack. Qualifying under one category does not automatically cancel eligibility under another. A veteran with more than one qualifying condition can, in the right circumstances, receive more than one additional payment at the same time. This is one of those details the system will not sit down and explain to you. A good accredited claims representative can catch it. Now, put actual money behind the words. Based on the VA's published compensation rate tables, a veteran rated at 100% who also qualifies for SMC at the aid and attendance level can see a combined monthly total well above $5,000 for a single veteran with no dependents. Add a spouse or children, and that number climbs further. At the lower SMCK tier, loss of use of a single limb or organ adds a smaller but still meaningful fixed amount every month on top of the existing check, and it stacks regardless of overall rating. Veterans who successfully file for aid and attendance typically see monthly compensation increase by several $100s, often somewhere between $400 and $900 a month, depending on prior rating and dependency status. Run that over 1 year, several thousand. Run it over a decade, tens of thousands. That money either reaches the veteran or it quietly disappears. One unfiled month at a time, and none of it is taxable. VA disability compensation and special monthly compensation are excluded from gross income under Title 26 of the Federal Tax Code. Whatever you claim, you keep in full. Now picture Gerald. Gerald is 67 years old, retired Army infantry, living in Knoxville, Tennessee. He has a 70% combined rating for knee damage, a lower back injury, and documented hearing loss. Gerald has collected his monthly disability check for 11 years. He walks with a cane. On his worst pain days, he cannot safely bathe without help. But he never filed for special monthly compensation because he assumed the existing rating already accounted for everything he was owed. Gerald did nothing wrong. He is exactly the veteran this program exists for, and he has been leaving money on the table for more than a decade because nobody told him the second layer existed. Now compare him with Walter. Walter is 79 and rated at 100% for a combination of service-connected conditions, including severe COPD. He stopped driving 3 years ago because his oxygen levels dropped too fast outside the house. On bad air quality days, he does not leave his bedroom. His daughter checks on him by phone every morning instead of in person, and Walter's explanation is painfully common. There wasn't anything more the VA could give me anyway. I'm already at the top. Walter is wrong, and he is far from alone. A 100% rating tells the VA how severe his conditions are. It does not answer whether those conditions have confined him to his home. The housebound category exists specifically for that second fact. Walter never filed because nobody explained that his rating and his housebound status are two different questions. That is the pattern. You cannot file for a benefit you were never taught to recognize. So here's what I want you to do. The exemptions, the breaks, the refunds most seniors already qualify for but never claim. I've put them all in one place, state by state, form by form, so you don't waste hours digging through government sites. Everything's laid out fast and simple so any senior can find exactly what applies to them. No matter what state you're in, there's money you're leaving on the table. It's called the Senior Exemption Playbook. It's in the first pinned comment right below this video. Just tap it once and you'll have everything you need. Now, stay with me because knowing that SMC exists is only half the battle. The paperwork is where good claims get lost. Most veterans who get denied on their first SMC attempt did not necessarily fail to meet the eligibility rules. They failed to submit the specific documentation the VA requires to prove those rules are met. That distinction is enormous. A denial letter is not necessarily saying you do not qualify. It is saying the evidence submitted at that particular moment did not establish eligibility. Those are different things, and the second one can be fixed. Take Miriam. Miriam is 72, a retired Army nurse from Albuquerque, New Mexico, carrying a 70% combined rating for bilateral knee replacements. Her daughter Patricia moved in 3 years ago after 2 falls made living alone unsafe. Miriam filed for aid and attendance on her own. She was denied. The rejection letter said her medical records did not establish a need for regular assistance with daily activities. Not because she did not need the help. Her paperwork simply never documented which activities she could not safely perform alone. Then Miriam brought in a VA-accredited claims agent. The agent helped her obtain a detailed functional statement from her orthopedist and a written buddy statement from Patricia describing exactly what daily help she provided. On appeal, Miriam's claim was approved. Her monthly compensation rose by over $500. Nothing about Miriam's condition changed between the denial and approval, only the paperwork did. That is the lesson. Do not make the VA guess. A medical note saying a veteran has difficulty with daily activities is not enough by itself. What moves the claim forward is a statement from a physician, nurse practitioner, or another licensed provider naming the exact activities the veteran cannot safely perform without help, and tying those limitations directly to a service-connected condition. Buddy statements matter too. Under 38 U.S.C. 517, the VA must weigh lay evidence. That means a spouse, adult child, or neighbor with first-hand knowledge of a veteran's daily limitations can submit a written statement that genuinely strengthens the claim. Describe what actually happens, not vague difficulty. What help? Why is it unsafe alone? Specific beats vague every time. Once the claim is filed, the VA typically schedules a compensation and pension exam, or CNP exam. That exam may be performed by a VA physician or a contracted examiner. Its purpose is to evaluate the functional limitations connected to the claim. So, do not walk into that room and describe only your best day. Many veterans minimize symptoms out of pride or habit. If a bad day means you need help getting out of the shower, describe the bad days accurately. The examiner is trying to capture your actual limitations, not your toughest performance for a stranger. After the exam, a rating officer reviews the full file, including the physician's statement, buddy statements, and CNP findings. Then a decision is issued. This entire process commonly takes several months, and that is why the filing date matters. Every month between filing and decision becomes retroactive back pay once the claim is approved, but only counting from the date you filed. Write that date down. Do not trust yourself to remember it 6 months later. Before we get to the exact filing steps, there are 4 distinctions that can save you from going down the wrong road. First, special monthly compensation is not special monthly pension. The names sound almost identical, the programs are not. SMC is paid on top of service-connected disability compensation and requires no income limit. Special monthly pension is a needs-based benefit for wartime veterans with limited income and net worth. It runs under completely different rules. Veterans and families confuse the two, apply for the wrong program, and get frustrated by a denial that may have nothing to do with their actual eligibility. Make sure the form matches the program. If you are unsure, a free accredited representative can answer that question in a single phone call before you file. Second, these benefits are not limited to living veterans. Surviving spouses of veterans who died from a service-connected condition may qualify for dependency and indemnity compensation. Within that program, a surviving spouse who needs regular help with daily activities can qualify for an aid and attendance addition of their own. That addition is calculated on a separate schedule from the veteran's original SMC. Families dealing with the loss of a veteran rarely think about benefit research in the middle of everything else. Grief does not leave much room for paperwork. If you are a surviving spouse or you know one, this is worth a phone call to a VSO on its own. Third, understand what filing will and will not do. You do not need a lawyer to file a first claim, though one can help with a denied claim if you prefer that route. There is no deadline that permanently closes SMC off. You can file at any point in your life, even decades after the original rating was established. Applying does not put your existing disability rating at risk of being reduced or reviewed. An SMC claim is additive, not a reevaluation of what you already have. And none of this requires exaggeration. It requires documentation. Your medical providers and your daily life should show the truth. Document that truth. Fourth, a denial is not the final word. Under the Appeals Modernization Act, veterans have 3 separate paths forward. A supplemental claim lane allows new evidence. A higher-level review lane requests a fresh look at the existing evidence. And the third path is an appeal directly to the Board of Veterans' Appeals. Each path has its own timeline and procedure. All 3 exist, so a first denial does not automatically become permanent. And be careful about who offers to recover this money for you. You never have to pay anyone a fee up front to pursue any of this. VA-accredited attorneys handling SMC claims and appeals are regulated under 38 U.S.C. 594 and 38 CFR 14.636. They are legally barred from charging anything before a decision is made. They collect a fee from retroactive back pay only after a favorable outcome, and that fee is capped by federal regulation. Veteran service organizations such as the Navy, the VFW, the American Legion, and state-level veterans agencies provide claims assistance completely free of charge. That help can continue from the first application through a full appeal. If somebody outside those accredited channels offers to recover the money for a percentage, walk away. The people doing this correctly can help through the accredited system. Military retirees need one more distinction. Special monthly compensation is not concurrent retirement and disability pay or combat-related special compensation. Those programs deal with how military retirement pay interacts with VA disability pay when a veteran also receives a pension. They run through the Department of Defense rather than the VA's disability rating system. A retired veteran can potentially qualify for SMC in one of those retirement pay programs at the same time because they solve different problems. But the applications and rules are separate. If somebody mentions concurrent receipt, do not automatically fold that into an SMC claim. It deserves a separate conversation with an accredited representative. Now, here are the 7 filing moves I want you to remember. Step 1, build the package before you open a form. Pull together your most recent VA rating decision letter, your discharge paperwork, and any VA or private medical records that speak directly to the condition you believe qualifies you. The wrong approach is filing something incomplete and planning to fill the gaps later. Build the package first. Open the folder and look at it. Rating decision, discharge paperwork, medical evidence. If one piece is missing, you know before the claim starts. Complete first, submit second. Step 2, use the right forms. For aid in attendance and housebound status, the primary form is VA Form 2-12680. Your treating physician completes it and you submit it with the claim. If clears throat, you are adding SMC onto an existing disability rating. You will also likely need VA Form 21526EZ, the standard application used to initiate or update a disability compensation claim. Both forms are available directly on va.gov by searching the exact form numbers. Do not guess at the form 212680226. Easy. Match the paperwork to what you are actually claiming. Step 3. Call a veteran service organization before you submit. The DAV's toll-free line is 1-800-827-100, and the VFW maintains accredited benefits specialists in every state. Tell them plainly that you are filing for special monthly compensation. Name the specific category you believe applies, then ask them to review your documentation package before you send it. The call is free and it dramatically reduces the odds of a preventable denial. One review before submission can expose a gap you did not know was there. Step 4, make the physician describe function, not just diagnosis. Ask your treating physician to complete Form 2-12680 with a written narrative. The narrative should name the specific daily activities you cannot safely perform without help. Then it should tie those limitations directly to your service-connected condition. A diagnosis alone leaves the rating officer to connect the dots. Specificity removes the guesswork. Bathing, dressing, eating, moving safely. Say what actually requires help. Step 5. Submit the claim and record the exact filing date. You can submit through the va.gov online portal or in person at your regional office. Then write down the date. That is the date your potential back pay begins counting from. If the claim takes 6 months to process and is approved, you receive 6 months of retroactive payment on top of your new ongoing monthly amount. But it counts from the date you filed, not the date your condition originally began. The filing date starts the clock. Do not lose it. Step 6. Keep a paper trail. Save copies of every document you submit. Log the date and name of every phone call. If the VA requests additional evidence, respond within the deadline stated in the letter. A missed response window can produce a denial even when the underlying proof exists. The proof simply never reached the file in time. You should be able to put your hands on every document you sent. If you cannot rebuild that record now, paper trail every time. Step 7. Keep documenting even after approval. Aid in attendance is not always treated as permanent, especially when it is tied to a condition that could theoretically improve. The VA may schedule a future re-examination to confirm that the need for regular assistance still exists. So do not throw the paperwork into a drawer and forget about it. Keep documenting. If the condition changes, better or worse, update the file proactively. That can protect against an unexpected reduction. And if the situation genuinely worsens, updated evidence can support a higher payment. Treat approval as the beginning of an ongoing record, not a one-time transaction. So here is the whole method. First, understand that SMC is separate from your disability percentage. Then identify the actual trigger. Loss or loss of use of a reproductive organ, housebound status, aid in attendance, or eligible dependents. Look at function, not just diagnosis. Document the exact daily limitation. Use the correct form. Have an accredited representative review the package. Record your filing date. Keep the paper trail. And if you are denied, read what evidence was missing before assuming the answer is no. Every piece is now in front of you. The program name, the legal authority, the payment structure, the triggers, the documentation, the appeals process, the forms. But none of that changes anything while it sits on a screen. The value appears when somebody acts on it. That is what self-reliance looks like inside a system built around claims. Not knowing every law by heart, knowing enough to ask the right question, keep the right paperwork, and make sure a benefit somebody earned does not disappear simply because nobody told them to file for it. There are veterans in every state at every rating sitting on eligibility for this right now, some of them for years. The VA is never going to call and tell them the check does not arrive because it is deserved. It arrives because someone files for it correctly with the right paperwork behind it. Before you leave, tell me something specific in the comments. Which part of this was new to you? Loss of use, housebound status, aid in attendance, dependence, or the fact that SMC can stack above 100% rating. And if you are helping a parent, spouse, or another veteran navigate this, tell me that too. I read every single one. That single piece of paper can tell you far more than most people realize. I am no licensed expert, so make sure to check all information with verified sources before you make a